everyone. This is Sarah Otis and Healing Hands Holistic Therapies. And just wanted to give a little more information about what is metaphysical anatomy. And this is a new modality or technique that I am offering, where so much of my work now is focused on addressing trauma of all forms, whether it's physical trauma, emotional, mental, sexual, physical, whatever it is. And many times there can be trauma that has occurred in our childhood that we have forgotten about or we have tuned out. Something that happened in the birthing process, something that happened to your parents has been passed down through the ancestral lineage, can still have an effect on us. And many times we don't realize it till later in life someone identifies it for us, which has been a big focus of my healing in my life. There has been a lot of trauma that has occurred, and it's taken a long time and many different therapies and modalities and such to help me address and clear these things from my body. Now, I'm not fully cleared of all traumas. They come in layers. Like we always talk about it. Say you have, I wish I had something. Oh, I do. I do have a realm. So think of this is an onion, okay? And there's layers upon layers upon layers till you get to the center. So when we're doing trauma therapy, you're going to remove layers and layers at a time. Sometimes there might be a huge chunk of layers. You might take off a big, like say 10 layers, and you're getting further down. Now, there can be a deeper layer of trauma that almost has its own web of layers upon itself. I've run into that many a times. And then it feels like it takes you back to a previous trauma you addressed maybe years ago. But it's in a new, I don't want to say fashion, but it's being presented to you in a different format. Different, what we call players in life. Those are the people that show up to be the ones to trigger you, to help guide you to your awareness of the trauma so that you can take care of addressing it. So you can have different experiences through relationships, through job experiences, through teachers, health challenges, physical injuries, and you'll almost see that common thread. Be like, man, this really reminds me of something I dealt with, 10 years ago. Well, this is another layer, but you had to remove those 10 other layers to get to that layer that's still connected to what you already removed. Hopefully that makes sense. So, what's the role? Most people don't like to talk about trauma, and that's completely understandable. And I will say that I have done the talk therapies, and one time in my college years, they had me on medications. None of those helped because it wasn't a mental, it was an emotional trauma stored within. That triggered a lot of my physical ailments and many other things. So what I love about this modality is you're not talking like you would like in talk therapy. We're not making you relive the trauma, because it's almost like that's the surface level, and we are going to address what's underneath it, that's stored and hidden within the body. And something I've always said in all my years when I was a medical massage therapist, if we can address what's in your energetic field before it gets into the physical body, we have a greater chance of clearing it, because once it hits the body, it feels comfortable, it's at home, it's getting all nestled in, getting sorted, and then you start having physical ailments. You get disease, you get cancer, you get um, other autoimmune things going on. Those are stored emotions that found a home and festered. So we are going to work on finding some of those and clearing them out that are connected to your trauma. So this work, we approach it with two avenues. We go the emotional avenue, and then the other one is we come in through pain points. And I'm going to just read briefly what the creator of this modality, her name is Yvette Rose, and she is from South Africa, but she now lives in Bali. So this modality is a trauma-based personal development process that reminds you how to reconnect to your own healing ability that we are all born with. But programming in life makes us forget it. It's like it turns off the switch, and many of us forget that. And that is something that throughout my entire, 15 years that I was doing massage, that I was always reiterating to clients. I'm not healing you. You were healing yourself. I'm just here as the facilitator and guide to reactivate that switch, that life and programming coming up in the education system has turned off or muted or tried to literally remove from you. We all have it. We just have to activate it. So she goes on to say, we have just forgotten how to use this amazing talent, which lies dormant in most of us. Now you might be asking, why are some people healers and others aren't? Well, it depends on your genetic predispositions and any trauma that took place during conception, including yours, your mother's, and your father's, as well as birth trauma and even events that took place in your life that can switch on or off this amazing self-healing ability. What is important throughout this experience when you have a session is to keep an open mind, and things will rise up and not get caught in that place of fear or judgment. Allow them to rise and be. And then it's like as I guide you through a session, I will ask questions to get more information about what emotion are you now feeling? Where are you feeling it in the body? And that will be like, oh, wow, I had no idea that that was connected to my shoulder pain or my constant reflux or anxiety, whatever it may be. Those are some of the puzzle pieces we can help plug together for you. So get back over here. The key to successfully shifting an ailment and block in your life is based on your level of understanding and awareness of it, especially the reason and secondary gains or blocks that are holding it in place. The good news is that you don't have to know what the root cause is of your issues. You don't have to relive a painful memory. You don't have to focus on a singular belief tied to thousands of other beliefs that stem from one traumatic event. What makes this technique so simple yet powerful is that the language for successful healing is emotions. Yep, that's right. Just plain emotions. And those are things that we all just push it down, simmer down, get back there, get in the back of the bus, zip it. I mean, that's what most of our parents probably told us growing up. A lot of times you would have heard, zip it up, button it up, buttercup. What is it? There's no crying in, how'd it go? It's kind of like the no pain, no gain type thing. So many were taught that you do not show emotion. You do not cry. You just act strong, button it up. So, there are some people that literally cannot cry. And I can only imagine what is bottled up in pressurized canister underneath the need to cry. It's time to let these things go without it exploding on you. Allow it to be a slow clearing. So, let's get back over here. The key to remember is that it's not just any emotion. There are certain type of emotions that we will be looking at and why they are important throughout your healing session. Remember that emotions are still just a symptom of a traumatic event, and the memory of it is just a ripple effect of that event that holds it in place. So back when I did massage, there were certain questions I would ask on a new client questionnaire, or even updates if someone had, an injury or something gone on. Where we would talk about traumatic events. Was there things that caused physical injury, or you have problems now because of a traumatic event or a physical injury? Because I could be working on somebody and working, there's say your shoulder here, typical people have a lot of knots and tight muscles here. So I could be working here, and then all of a sudden the client could just bust out in tears. And they'd be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm crying." And it'd be like, "No, you were completely fine." And we were always taught, you step back from the body when someone's having any kind of form of release, because especially if they're crying, because you're in that state of intense vulnerability, and you sure don't want someone like all up in your business. So you step back and you hold space for them, check in with them, ask if there's anything that I can do to assist you. Some clients, they could work through it and be fine. Others, they needed to end the session, because it just, when we get in that state, it's like we're taken right back to whatever event triggered it. So there was something that got released in that muscle. It was a stored memory. And that hard knot is what's been protecting that memory. So when I cleared that tight muscle, it's like there's that canister, I said, that pressurized canister stored within the body, and it exploded. And the client didn't know what to do with that. So this is what we're looking for in this modality, is to help find those memories that are stored. So you can heal the memory. However, that means that you cut off the links that it has to other emotional charges in your body. I'm sure you can guess the end result. You feel dissociated and stuck with emotions coming up and unable to release where they're coming from. Because emotions that weren't dealt with, they were a part of the memory that are still triggered and being triggered. But the memory and majority of the charge of it has been resolved. That's why we say, something can happen 20, 30 years ago. It's not on your mind at all. And you walk in somewhere, you smell something, you hear something, you see something, or you feel or taste something. You're like, oh my God. And you are immediately back 25 years ago to, let's say, a car accident. You fell down some stairs, you broke your wrist, you broke your ankle. And it's as if it's happening right now. Trust me, I have been there. I know exactly what this feels like, and it's not fun. And to not know where is this coming from. That's why so often I will ask people, what was going on around you when you were triggered? What were things you were feeling? What were you doing, tasting, seeing, smelling? Were there certain people present? Was there certain things going on around you? Because all those play a role in what was your trigger. All right. So it is the same as healing a singular belief that was caused by a traumatic event. But what about the thousands of other beliefs that were all tied to this traumatic event? So she gives an example. Say you have an affected root in a tooth. You can remove the tooth, clean out the infection, and have a root canal inserted. But the likelihood of the infection being completely cleaned out and healed is much less likely as it has spread. You will now find more symptoms such as fatigue as the infection challenges your immune system. You might have a sore or swollen jaw. The initial pain of the infection is gone, but however, you are now sitting with more symptoms that are bothering you than you had before. Yet, you don't know how to resolve the ripple effect of the root cause, as it was healed only halfway. You think there must be something else wrong as the initial pain has been resolved. In reality, you just put a Band-Aid on a chronic sore. In this case, it will cause more symptoms down the line in different ways in the body. And the thing is, your doctor's not going to pick up on it unless you mention it real specifically to your dentist. They may not pick up on it either. Now, if you're seeing a biological dentist or holistic dentist, they are going to ask, have you had root canals? Have you had fillings? Do you have metal in your mouth? Do you have amalgam fillings? X, Y, Z. And they're going to do not just a panoramic x-ray. They're going to do what's called it's like a three-dimensional. It's very similar to a CT scan. It's, I'll lose my verbiage. I can't think of it right now. But it gives you that three-dimensional imagery. And so it allows them to see the jaw, the teeth, and if there's anything called cavitations. And those are pockets of infection. It goes back to pockets of trauma. So it's been walled off and protected, much like a cyst or a lipoma or a tumor. There is something stored within, and then your body is naturally trying to heal itself by walling it off. The other thing with our teeth, they are tied to every aspect of our body. So you can look up like the Chinese teeth meridian chart, and you can, count your tooth depending on the chart and see what organs are tied to it and be like, holy moly, that tooth that I have problems with, it's tied to my heart, and I have heart problems, or I have heart palpitations. Oh, it's also tied, oh my God, to my ovaries, and I'm infertile, different things. These are stories you hear from people. And when you resolve the root, where the trauma is coming from, the rest of it resolves on its own. So she goes on to say that when you understand the theory and the structure behind the madness that she calls metaphysical anatomy, it will become an important tool not just for yourself, but others in your life who are going to notice the difference in you, and they're going to want to experience it for themselves. So I'm inviting you to take the stigma out of the word trauma as being something bad, or, oh, you don't discuss this, I don't have trauma. It's like that forbidden, the forbidden word, keep it on the shelf, type thing that they have taught us to not feel safe to talk about. And I doubt there is a person on this planet that hasn't experienced at least one trauma in their lives. And I doubt it's just one. It's a compounding probably 1,000 plus. But many times we have locked them away in parts of our brain as a way to cope, to process and get through it because it was too traumatic. Like many times someone can suffer, sexual abuse, see someone, get shot or killed. And it's so traumatic that the brain compartmentalizes it to keep you safe. That's that's the beauty of our nervous system and our brain. It will do what it needs to protect us. But many times in that state of protection, it's actually causing problems somewhere else. So that's what this modality is so beautiful, and how it can help address these things in our lives. So reach out to me if this is something that speaks to you and you would like to experience it, because it would be of my great joy to help you ease the burden that is festering in your body, that is creating other issues due to stored traumas held within. So until next time, realize the beautiful being that you are. Don't allow these traumas in your life to hold you down. Know that there is help out there. All you need to do is ask, and I'll be more than happy to be your guide. I've been there. I see you. I hear you. And I know how amazing it feels to find someone who's been through it and understands. And let me be that for you as well. So to learn more, you can always visit my website, sarahotis.com. Until next time, keep on smiling and know how beautiful truly you are.